Hey everyone, welcome to another edition of BlackUSA Crypto News. I'm Kamal Hubbard and I'm so happy to have you with me today. I'm going to talk about a lot of really cool stuff in just a moment. Before we get to this, guys need to check out DeFi for the Diaspora. There's been quite a bit of uptick with this book. I think ever since I joined Facebook to promote the book, get the word out and raise awareness, I've gotten quite a few new followers. So I appreciate everybody at Facebook who's watching this now on BlackUSA.News' channel or on my channel, hopefully sometime soon. I got to work out some more technical details when it comes to that. So thanks everybody on Facebook. I appreciate the support and the love. Also, be sure to check out the BlackUSA.News morning show with Donnie Glover, coming to you every morning at 7 a.m. straight out of Baltimore, Maryland. And just check out this week's episodes if you have not had a chance. They're in the archive, and Donnie's always talking about something relevant. I think they may have covered some stuff on the Rittenhouse case, possibly, maybe. But tomorrow is the Blackout with Tasmira Gathers, and she's also always talking about relevant stuff going on. She's broadcasting from New York City, so be sure to catch that at 10 a.m. Eastern, 7 a.m. Pacific. It's a little early, but I have had the opportunity to be a guest on that show, and I had an amazing time with her. So be sure to check out the Blackout. Sundays is 60 Minutes in Black with Michael Haney. And same thing. Every week he's talking about something relevant that's going on somewhere in Black USA or just globally with the Black family. So just to take a couple of steps back, be sure to check out the Black Business Roundtable with Dr. Ashley and Doug Blacksher. They're broadcasting from the West Coast here in Oakland, California, and they are telling you guys everything that's going on in labor, politics, so on and so forth. So you don't want to miss that show. Also, at our usual evening time at 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Eastern. And of course, there's the Donnie Glover show that comes on Tuesday evenings at that time. So you can catch Donnie once again in the evening if you're not able to catch him in the morning. And, I have to shout out Tamara and Nicole at SistaBiz. So I got a big smile on my face because I made a very quick appearance on this week's show with them. But I need to immediately issue an apology. They have a very serious topic that they are covering this week and next. You guys need to go back and check that out. But I was having some major technical difficulties. I mean, I actually got booted off the show. But let me tell you what was going on. I unfortunately forgot to turn off the YouTube feed when I went on the live feed. So I was actually getting 6 people asking me questions at the same time. And unfortunately, I got a little bit bewildered, and rightfully so. I should have gotten booted off the show, but I want to apologize to Tamara and Nicole for disrupting the program. Is really a topic I have no business talking about in the first place, but I was doing some blockchain analytics and thought I'd listen to you guys in the background, pose a question or two. So, please accept my apology. Hopefully one day I can return to the show. I'm not sure, maybe not. But regardless, I appreciate you guys giving me the space and time to kind of wrap things up for you at the end there. And last but certainly not least, Monday evenings, we have Shared Space with Quida Chap. And right now, joining me from the Shared Space show is none other than Chap himself. Hey, Chap, how's it going, sir?
How's it going, man? Yeah, thanks for the shout out. Monday nights, we do shared spaces, a very intentional show, uniquely for Baltimore. We are me and Quida are in the community. Let's spend a lot of time in the community, building relationships everywhere we can. Just trying to knit the fabric of the community together better and connect people. So you never know who's going to show up. Everybody from film producers to garage artists or tattoo artists to maybe a single mom who's undocumented and she's sharing her experience. We just try to give um, everyone a voice, and so we share our space with people in Baltimore to give a true narrative of what's going on. So we have that to compare to the narrative the media would perpetuate. Because Baltimore is a beautiful spot. It's a beautiful city, full of beautiful people doing a ton of like really positive things in spite of the government, politics, and the news. So we make sure we try to balance out the narrative and share our truth of what's going on in Baltimore. So thank you.
Excellent, excellent. So if you could tell me two things.
Okay.
What you have coming up for your next show on Monday and what you had on your previous show last Monday.
So last Monday, we had lined up some people that weren't able to make the commitment for various reasons. So we ended up just wrapping a little bit. I'll share the week before that was like a fantastic show, and I'm not sure if it recorded. I know we're getting tight on space on the broadcast stream, but it was we had 2 weeks ago was really great. We had artists. One young lady, Rebel. She's kind of an artist at home in her studio at home and does it as a hobby. One young lady who picked up doing art during COVID, and then in the past 2 years really have spent time cultivating her craft and did an art show like a week before she was on our show. And then we had two veterans of Baltimore, tattoo artists, Aces and Rags, who are just veteran artists in general. They've been doing tattoos at least for 10 years or more. So we put those three different people together, all from our art community, but in very different places. And they had like the most fantastic conversation that we got to be a part of. I actually went back and took notes where I was writing notes down as they were speaking because they were just really the younger artists were unsure of their value and unsure of like, how do I price my art? Is it valuable to people? How do I reach my audience? And the older guys had some really just phenomenal wisdom and experience to share with the younger artists. And for me, the most inspirational part was they imparted their value. They told the younger young ladies on the show that like your art, as you express yourself and you tell your story, isn't just about the time and material, right? You're sharing your life experience in a unique way, and it's so invaluable. And so I was sharing as like as just somebody who might be I might be walking around Lake Montebello where a lot of artists set up on the weekends at Baltimore, and I might see something I like, and it's like, oh, $50, and it's like, man, I'm not the type of guy who can just drop $50. Or if I see something really, really inspiring or something that really reaches me, an artist might have $300 on something, and that's something I got a budget for, right? So it's like, I'm not saying it's not valuable, but how do you put those two things together? And so the guys, the artist actually was probably one of my favorite shows we've done so far because I just learned so much. I understand the value of our people. And specifically Black people and Baltimore people, but we're trained to devalue ourselves. Even we're doing a book signing next month on December 3rd, 11th, and people were like, I just want to show up and get my book out there, give it away for free, and I'm like, no, like you have value, right? And so what these guys were teaching the younger ladies was like, if you do an art piece and you have the original. He explained one thing you do as an artist is that you don't sell your original for time and material, but you take that original and you keep that's yours. He's like, you make prints, and so let's say you made 100 prints of something that you really really wanted to get out there and want to share. and you sell that for like, let's say you sell that for $50 a piece. Well, if you sell 100 prints, that's $5,000. Now that piece, the original piece, is minimally worth $5,000. And you still have that to make more prints, or if somebody makes you an offer right here. So we're sharing, like, there's a way to value your time and what you're doing without getting rid of or without losing that original piece, right? And I thought that was insightful, especially for someone who doesn't. I'm not necessarily an artist. And then on top of that, we were one young lady was like, she was trying to figure out how to price her work for the exhibition. And this is just me again as an audience, not any kind of experience in that community really. If I went to an art exhibition, and let's say I had deep pockets, I was looking to spend 10 grand on something for my mansion, right? So, some white privileged guy. If you have $250 on your piece of art, that's not even on my radar. I'm not looking at that, right? Because that's not what I'm looking for. But I'm looking for someone who values himself. But if you put $10,000 on a painting, not only is that guy looking at that like, really, but everybody else is looking at it too. Like, why is that a $10,000 painting? And if you can't afford that, then here's a print, right? So they were just like really, really deep stuff that I'd never thought of. And then moving forward, I think if we can get Quida on, she has some guests coming next week. She can speak more on. But I'll tell you, the artists were really inspirational, and there was just a great conversation happening at all levels, at the hobby level, at the new artist level, and then the veterans. Like, just putting them together was really, really insightful and really informative. So.
Yeah, I think you're right. That sounds really cool. And before we go into that a little bit further, why don't we bring in Quida? Hey, Quida, how's it going?
Hello, and good evening, fellows. How are you?
Thank you.
All right. I want to make sure I fit you in there. You got big hair like I got big hair, so.
That's what I was thinking, is this big old hair. How are you all this Friday evening?
Good.
Doing great. So, Quida, why don't you tell our audience about yourself, but quickly let me acknowledge Doug. Hey, Doug, you need to shout out Quida too now that she's here. But want to say what's up to Doug. But go ahead, Quida. Floor is yours.
Hey, Doug. So I am LaQuida Chansey. I go by Quida. I'm the founder and director of Small-to-More Homes, and we build micro shelters and tiny homes for people who are experiencing housing insecurity. And here in Baltimore, that's very prevalent. We are a red line city, so we're still dealing with, things that were put in place 100 years ago. So I'm out here doing my best to combat that. But yeah, so I wanted to pop in and see what Kamal was up to on his side of the world, see what Chap was offering to the conversation. What are we talking about today, guys?
Well, I wanted to know real quick, what do you guys have going on for your next show on Monday?
Oh, okay. So yes, there is an awesome organization here in Baltimore, actually not that far from my home. And it is in part with, what is it called? The Greenmount West Community Center. And so they have a foundation, or not even a foundation, but a fund that they're working on now for Miss Bell, which is a community member in the Greenmount West community. So they are coming on Monday to talk to us about the campaign, as well as host a volunteer event next weekend. So we'll be able to contribute to Mrs. Bell's home and speak with folks who's involved in the whole initiative. Are you guys hearing me okay?
Yes, I am. I'm adjusting my headset.
Not you. I can see that my video is a little warped, so I wanted to make sure the sound was at least clear. Yeah, but so we're really excited about that. So they're going to be on talking about the Bell House community build, and yeah, that's exciting.
Cool.
That is that. I was just talking about how I was experiencing some technical audio issues earlier this week on SistaBiz, and I would once again like to issue an apology to Tamara and Nicole for not quite having my stuff together. So that aside,
yeah.
So Q, I was sharing a little bit about a previous shows, and I'm still stuck on the artists that we had. I was sharing with Kamal a little bit about how he how Rags was really inspirational and informative on helping people understand their value, right? In fact, I was having a conversation with my son earlier, who's starting a broadcast and stream brand called Brotherhood TV, and he's got some of his friends who are in a school for graphics design and stuff, and some people he's met who's helping him with his project. And they made him his logo. They got a final logo, and he signed off on it. And he's like, "Well, what do I pay them? You know, we're kind of negotiating right now." And I'm like, "Well, what is it worth to you?" And he's like, "I don't know, like $30." And I'm like, "Well, you know, how many hours did they spend on it?" And one of the girls spent like 3 hours on this one item we're talking about. And, you know, I was like, "Well, do you value her more than $10 an hour?" He's like, "Absolutely, Dad. What do I do?" And I was like, "Well, I think that she's worth at least $25 an hour if she spent 3 hours on your thing. You know, minimally, right? I mean, these are kids, so it's cool because he's working with kids his age who are still like building their portfolio. So I think that's interesting, and it's supportive. And so, like, one of their first projects is one of their friends, helping him out. But at the same time, we don't want specifically people of color, but even just people in general. Like, we have such value, and we're taught. I guess we're just impressed upon that that we're less valuable than we truly are. And so, like, the conversation we had like 2 weeks ago with Rags and Aces and Rebel, and what was the other young lady's name? I forget. But it was like really,
yeah, they got a lot of gems and jewels, especially for artists that are getting newly started. Patrice found herself in a, what is she? She's in the Skyloft doing an art exhibit, or, you know, displaying her art. And so I told her, "Ma'am, that means prices need to go up. You've been, you know, published, so to speak, or presented to folks on a stage. So let's go ahead and, you know, price accordingly. Like, before, you were working in your living room. We understood that, but there's levels to this. And to your point, Chap, we have to learn to value ourselves in that way."
Yep.
Yeah.
And so there's a thought I had today too, because since we had Kamal on the show, actually, I've done some. I've been researching a little bit about more about the blockchain and cryptocurrencies and things like this, and trying to encourage my son to just invest every time he gets a paycheck. Invest, like, do the traditional savings. His grandmother's teaching about traditional savings, but take half of that and invest in some crypto, right? Like, you get a $70 check, put $10, $20. Because he's 18, he doesn't have bills or anything right now. Take 10, $20, put it in this or that. But research and figure out what you think has value. And as I was looking at it, I had this thought, and Kamal, you can comment on this appropriately, but I was thinking, like, could a coin be developed? Because I see like Shiba Inu, and I see Breadcoin and coins that aren't really a part of the blockchain, but they're significant because I've heard of them, and I'm not, like I said, I'm not a crypto guy, but I've heard of them. So there's some kind of significance and value there. And my question being, could the coin and the cryptocurrency be used kind of like a, how to say this, kind of like a fundraiser or a GoFundMe? Like, hey, Quida has this great idea. Let's, could people invest in a Smaltimore Homes coin, let's say, for example, to help her raise funds, and then how would that coin maintain value for people who donated or invested in the coin, right? Like, is that something that's even like manageable, or is this like, am I just not hitting the mark?
No, absolutely, absolutely, and I think that goes naturally with the discussion, in terms of why I wanted to talk to you guys. It also fits in naturally with what you're talking about with artists. Artists should also be looking at NFTs in terms of distributing their art, so that would be, if you're saying your son's getting into graphic design, there is, I think, if you're learning how to create digital art, one of the ways to profit and protect it is using blockchain to do that. Whether or not you just want to establish provenance, or if you're actually trying to establish profits too, right? I brought this up just a second ago. This is the chart for Shiba Inu, and there's something to meme coins, right? And I honestly, I get the ethos to them, but what you're talking about goes to something even more substantial, right? And that is actually tangible. So Shiba Inu, Dogecoin, and the numerous and several variants of that class of coins, they really operate off of just really community sentiment. So if you're able to gather community around a particular purpose or a particular issue, then yes, you can absolutely develop a coin and raise money. Now, the Smaltimore coin example that you brought up is different, right? Because you're raising money on a blockchain that is going to keep you, or it's going to have some degree of transparency, right? It's going to keep you honest in how much money was raised and things like that. But then you're taking those funds out and you're bringing it into the real world to actually build tiny homes. So I think there's a tremendous use case around this, right? And, when I talk to really a lot of people nowadays, now that they're starting to understand the promise of cryptocurrencies, in particular DeFi to a lesser extent, but just the overall proposition of cryptocurrencies, they're seeing a lot of things, right? They're seeing, oh, well, how can we use this to, dismantle the traditional financial system? I talk about that in my book. Some people are asking, how can we use this to move away from capitalism? And then, there are other people who are saying, hey, how can we use this to, have a more just world, right? And honestly, we need to rethink money in its proposition altogether, remove the layers of politics, and don't even think about putting this under the lens of capitalism or socialism, because that is very limiting in and of itself. We know that money is something that we need to interact with, right? And we need to interface with to meet our basic needs. But we can absolutely use this new technology to create sustainable solutions for the way that we live, and also the way that we engage with one another. So I definitely think there's a use case, because Dogecoin and other cryptocurrencies have been used to have charitable purposes, and a lot of people I know who are business people say, well, why would you want to create a cryptocurrency? Because I've thrown the idea around that only helps people meet their basic needs, right? It doesn't make money. It doesn't establish a profit. Why would you do that? And my thing is, well, because you can now. You can create value in making sure that your fellow human beings have something to eat, i.e. breadcoin, right? or have a place to live when we're talking about Baltimore. And that has value. We have the opportunity to fundamentally reshape those things: our time, our labor, price, cost, and value. And once again, it's the opportunity to remove politics and traditional economic systems. Like, once again, I feel like those things are very limiting if we're looking at, okay, well, are we going to use this to advance a Republican or libertarian way of life, or even a democratic socialist way of life? No, let's use it to reshape how we value humanity. I don't know, maybe that's too esoteric for some people, but I think if we start at that fundamental premise, we can do things like fund.
Yeah, Chap and I would both agree, especially knowing that breadcoin exists, in that this creates opportunities where opportunities didn't once exist. And so it's one step closer to, as I always say, dismantling the patriarchy, like working against systemic, issues that we've been fighting against forever. And so leveling the playing field when it comes to a financial institution and the monetary value and blockchain, all of those things really kind of level the playing field. So yeah, what were you going to add, Chap? I'm sorry.
No, I was having this conversation today, or yesterday and today, really, with Pastor Luke Casagrande with Rise City Church, and Lewis Thomas, CEO of Power Fest Baltimore and Power Events USA, and Detail Butler. He's a hustler, man. But we're having this conversation about there's a lot of really talented, valuable people out here on the street that just weren't born with a silver spoon in their mouth, or they just weren't in places to get certain opportunities other people have. We look up to a lot of people who we shouldn't necessarily look up to, except because of their position and their wealth, right? And so that's what you're talking about, is like, why should we bring other people up to that level? Because we can, because we need people to believe in themselves and understand their value. And I feel like that's the conversation tonight, is just the reason we would do something like that and empower people through a coin is because if people see their true value and not be spoon-fed the lies. Like, I'll give you an example for me with mentoring young men in the city. Everybody knows the movie Friday, right? Everybody loves, Mike Epps and Chris Tucker and Ice Cube, and I love them guys, in Barbershop. And these movies are fun and funny and entertaining, but they're also subtly teaching my sons of color to associate poverty with being black. And then on top of that, for the last couple hundred years, my sons are mixed. And so when they think of their ancestors, American culture teaches them to think of that they've risen out of the dirt of slavery, not taking it further back to understand that their ancestors were kings and queens and princes and princesses in the most wealthy country in the world. They were taken from Ethiopia. They're taken from the motherland, right? But the American culture would have them believe that their value is that they are underdogs and had to, instead of like, my sons know that they're supposed to step up into the kingship that they're owed, because that's where they come from. But in America, we want people to think like black people are the underdogs. Black people are poor. So there's this inequality that exists that we're always trying to address in the street. We're always trying to address on the show, and we're always trying to address and coins can address that, because if, like with the Shiba Inu, right? It's so, like you said, it's just, I understand it, and it's fun to watch, and it's fun to watch people rally and right. But take a kid like my son who maybe put $20 in a Shiba coin, and maybe this time next year it's worth a penny. Now you just put $200,000-$300,000 in the hands of a young, smart man who deserves it, but maybe otherwise wouldn't have a chance or opportunity to have that kind of wealth to make the difference he knows he can make. You know what I'm saying? So I really believe in the coins empowering people, and like you said, just as far as like the coins being used to remove wealth from the governments and institutions and giving it to the people. because the people in charge think that we don't know what we're going to do. Like, they think, I don't know what they think we're going to do with, like, if I had $100,000, I'm going to go buy $100,000 car and still live in poverty. No, man, that's life-changing money.
I agree. And, there's a lot, once again, that we need to reconsider with all this, right? And there are people who come to me and, some of the first questions are, hey, did you get rich off crypto? Or how can I get, and then the second is, how can I get rich off crypto? And it's like, well, if I was rich on crypto, what incentive would I have to like give back in the ways that, I do? And, some people don't always see the ways that I give back, but why would I write a book for the global Black family on decentralized finance? Like, I would not have spent my time. I would have spent my time getting rich on crypto. Like, I wouldn't have a show like this. I wouldn't spend time. I'd be spending my time trading all day, or all my available time trading, and not talking about crypto to people because I would be so greed focused. Okay. Instead, what I'm trying to do is raise awareness so people who do use crypto, who may one day get that $100,000, will say, hey, let me do something that's going to either benefit my community or benefit humanity with this money, right? And have that mindset going in, and not the, okay, hey, well, now it's time to buy a Lambo mentality.
Right.
Right, because that's typically what people do. And so that's why people are asking you, wait, did you get rich? And why are you still doing this? Because people don't understand that mindset. Like, to Chap's point, that's not the American way. I mean, in many ways, like your Boys in the Hood, your barber shops, they are depicting someone's real life, like whether it is good, bad, or indifferent. But to your point, Chap, what I don't like is when we consistently and make a market out of thriving off of like Black trauma. You know what I mean? Like, there's a difference between art and then like Black trauma over and over and over again. And that's kind of where I'm like, you know what? Certain movies I don't need to see. I remember when the Black Panther movie, the Fred Hammond and all that came out, I was watching it or listening to it in a different room, and I had to go shut it off. Like, they just killed that man and had a casual conversation. I can't normalize that. You know what I mean? That can't be something that is just normal in my everyday vernacular conversation, even in the art that I'm, taking in, whether it's a movie, a documentary, even the news. I haven't watched the news in Lord knows how long. Like, it's bad for me. You know what I mean? And so thinking about these things in a mental health aspect, but also expressing yourself, but being, cognizant about it, that it's not continuing to inflict trauma as people are, taking it in. Because that's how I felt with that movie. I was just like, I don't need any more of this. Like, we've seen, I don't need to keep seeing Black Lives Matter in real life. You know what I mean? Like, I'm over that. So yeah, I'm gonna agree there.
Well, I think too, it goes back to our value. We just need to like, for me, I was at a church in East Baltimore almost 10 years ago now. But one thing they taught me was that, and I'm not, I'm not very religious, but my personal faith, I'm saved. I have faith in Jesus Christ, but I'm not very religious. Like, I don't go to church every Sunday and other things like that. But there's certain truths that I understand and I learn along the way. And in that conversation, our wealth as far as people, like for people, let's say our spiritual currency, our spiritual coin, right, would be our time, because everyone's going to die at some point, right? So you have this budget of time. And if time is your currency, then what you invest your currency in is where your treasures lie, right? And so we invest our time in other people, then people become our treasures, right? And so just this concept that a lifestyle that we live by, at least at our house, and my sons understand that time's your currency, it's invaluable, right? And along that same thought process, like if all of humanity got it wrong, Islam, Hindus, Christians, everybody, all the religions are wrong, but let's say one person figures it out, one person in all of humanity gets it right and ends up in heaven with God, like, then all of humanity's experience, even if it sums up to one person getting it right and having a relationship with God in heaven, that one relationship has infinite value, because heaven is forever, right? If that's what you believe, then every person you meet has potentially infinite value. So why do we devalue ourselves so much? You know what I mean? And so I don't know. I'm stuck on that thought this week, man. It's been in my face a lot. And
no, but Chap, I think you're onto something. I was looking at something on Instagram, and it was saying that we basically value ourselves by our job title and how much money we make.
Sure. Let me share these stats with you real quick.
Go ahead.
Okay. So in research and reading in these thoughts, so let's say a black male my age, no college education, statistically, data-driven influence would say that that person's worth, their entire life, it sums up to $6,000. But you take someone who looks like me, perceived as white, in the same situation, around middle age, no college education, regular job, whatever, instantly that goes from 6,000 to 36,000. Now, if you add college to my counterpart who is of color, you add college to that, and they're still under 30,000, their value, right? But you add college to me, now I'm at $65,000, $70,000. That's how much society would tell you that I'm worth. And I'm telling you I'm worth more than that. And definitely, if society and data is driving people to say that a black middle-aged male with no college education is worth $6,000, then damn, bro, I got cars worth more than that. What the heck?
Yeah, I mean, but it makes you wonder who's creating this data, who is telling us these things, because I know any man that I know, regardless of race, color, or creed, is worth more than $6,000. So that's where the conversation starts. You know what I mean? What even are we talking about, and who provided this information, and why should we believe them? Who are you?
Well, I think a good place to start in terms of looking, and you brought it up earlier, and I hate to use this example. I hate to always mention this company, but you talked about Instagram. And recently that data came out of how young teenage and preteen women are looking at what's on Instagram, and they are feeling devalued. So,
yes, it's rampant.
Right. And the data from the user data and preferences of the given users, they're taking that and selling it. So the human being is being devalued, but their data and their preferences have a price tag.
Yeah, that's raising sales costs for everybody involved. The people, anyone who is buying that data is using it against the people that are on Instagram. You know what I mean? It's definitely not going to be used for good, like your knowledge in coins, Kamal. It's used so that girls are buying more makeup. They're using more filters, looking at the different surgeries as if it's going to the dentist. You know what I mean? Like, it's just all of these things that, hey, if you want teeth that look like this or eyes that look like this, just buy it. Just buy it and you'll be fine, even though in 5 to 10 years it's going to be a different trend. Like, come on.
Yeah, and this kind of goes to something in my book is we're moving out of Web 2.0 and we're moving into Web 3.0. And not only do we have an opportunity to reshape and rethink money and finance and what's valuable and what's important, but every other interaction, right? Where VR, AR, AI, cybersecurity, all these things are going to have even more value. And are we going to use it to put another price tag on people? Are we going to lower the price? Are we going to increase the price of these people? What are we going to do with it? And now's the time to start making those decisions before essentially I hate to use the term, locked in the matrix.
I mean, well, who's making the decision? Because if we're leaving it up to the book to make the decisions, they got us believing if you change your name, you're a different company. And they've already created this whole virtual situation. So if they're the ones that are trailblazing and leading the way to whatever is free to everybody, that's what we need to be concerned about.
Absolutely. And you're 100% on target. We talked about this in some of my previous shows. It's like, oh, hey, forget, here's the metaverse, right? Forget about all that other stuff that we did. Here's the metaverse. You're going to love it. And it's like, well, is this going to keep us more captive, or is this something that is going to help the world?
Come on, it's nothing more than when all the banks changed their names because they ruined the world. Like, it's cyclical. It's just one more industry that switch up a couple of names, ruin a couple of lives, rinse, repeat, make a bunch of money, do it all over again.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm just in the habit of asking more questions than stating conclusions. So,
listen,
forgive me.
I'm trying to figure out, do I need to stay off of Facebook? Like, it's kind of like, we already know that social media is, warping our minds and sucking the time out of our lives. And we're always trying to create content and engage. And oh my goodness, it's a full-time job. How do we keep up, Kamal? And they just keep doing things so that we have to keep up.
Well, there's an intent and purpose for why I'm doing it, as well as why you guys are doing that. And it's to greater benefit our community. Absolutely. It's not so, it's not so people can see me and see my face. It's actually so that we can raise awareness on the things that we're talking about.
Hey,
how's it going?
Want to introduce Charles? This is my son Charles. He's been on the show a couple times.
Hey, I was in the background. I was actually messing around with my YouTube channel called Brotherhood TV, and I heard what you said, Quida, about the social media and the content.
Yeah.
And I agree with you, but I also think it also depends on what you're uploading, how and what you're saying, like through the media. Like, it depends on the person, and you upload good things and you proliferate, like, for example, like what you do with tiny homes. And last time we were cleaning up, I forget we're cleaning an area, and you were recording it on social media, but you're proliferating a good thing.
Different narrative. Absolutely.
Yeah. So it depends on how you use your tools, and it depends on the person who proliferates that. So it's not a bad thing if you're using it for the right reason.
And thank you for uplifting me. No, Charlie, I hear what you're saying, but let's be real. Are 90% of the people using Instagram like I'm using Instagram? I mean, maybe I have a
I'm-
low bar. Maybe 10% is low and I'm just being super pessimistic. Maybe it's higher. But I appreciate you for saying that. And what else were you going to add?
Yeah, I get that, but I guess I don't understand that because I don't follow people who I don't,
Think or saying positive
Yeah.
things. Yeah, you said I don't even know what you're talking about, miss. That's not my world. And that's beautiful.
But yeah, I agree with you and like have a different like side of that. So like it's like 50-50. Like you're right, and I think also this, you know what I mean? Like it depends on the person because I follow people who are like who influence and stuff. Like my friend Nick, he's a graphic designer. He uploads nothing but art, and it's very influencing and inspirational and stuff. So
Yeah,
it depends
shout
on
out
the
Nick.
person.
Shout out
Yeah.
you too, Charlie. Like I completely appreciate your rosy colored glasses, but these little blinged out flecks that I got on here, honey, I've seen like what goes on, but behind the
Yeah.
facade of it all. And every now and again, I just gotta cut it out and just say it how it is, so that when it does come up and hit you in the face, you're not surprised. You're like, you know what? We talked about this, but I'm not in that world, and I don't have to succumb to it. So that's beautiful. I appreciate that about you.
Yeah, I just wanted to point that out because I did hear that, so I was just like, But yeah, I'm gonna give
I love
this.
it. I love it. Chef kicking you out of the way. I love it.
That's absolutely true. We do have a choice in what we're putting out there, and that you can always come to Black USA News for good content and good content contributors like Quida and Chap. So
Thank you.
I'm so happy you guys took time out of a Friday night to be on my show.
Yes, it's necessary. We got to spread the love. If it's the Be More way.
That's right.
And I think going back to meme coins and Shiba and the other ones out there, what we can kind of learn from that is, we have a chance to have fun in crypto. I mean, it's not fun losing money, right? But you shouldn't be in a position where if you're losing anything, it's really going to hurt you. You should only invest what you can. I mean, this is not financial advice, but that's a way to make it fun. NFTs also are a way to have fun in crypto as well. But the stuff that we were talking about earlier, we can also use it as a way to create impact and have purpose outside of blockchain or outside of the technology. So that's what I'm really hoping for people to kind of get past is, the greed that's part of it. And let's see how we can find ways to elevate, our fellow human beings. So I don't know. Is there anything in the news you guys want to talk about that's crypto related or anything on your minds?
I don't know anything that's crypto related, but it's interesting because even in the nonprofit world, they're starting to have different platforms that accept donations in cryptocurrencies. And I don't remember the organization now, but they actually help nonprofits to understand how cryptocurrency works and then helps them to campaign to raise funds in crypto. So I think that that's pretty cool that, it's already penetrating like we know it would, all levels of monetary donations and Cash App and the stock market, all the stuff.
So
it's actually go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say it's interesting that you bring that up. I've been working with a San Francisco-based nonprofit called Urban Ed Academy, and we got them hooked up with a platform called the Giving Block that helps nonprofits accept crypto donations. And Urban Ed Academy works with young boys in San Francisco as well as young girls, but also up and coming teachers, so that more classrooms can have Black male teachers before a certain age in order to help outcomes for students, really regardless of color. And so you're right, there's a lot of benefit. And November 30th is Bitcoin Tuesday. So if anybody wants to donate to the Giving Block on behalf of Urban Ed Academy, they should certainly look to do that because it's tax deductible. Thanks for, yeah, everything on the Giving Block is tax deductible. So once again, people who did really well in crypto, that's a way to give back to the community and also get that benefit of helping offset your tax liability. So I think that's a win-win in my opinion. But
for sure.
But yeah, go ahead, Chap. We kind of. Oh, was that?
I just had a different question. It wasn't related. That's why I wanted to hear your answer first. My question was, what is the difference between the Coinbase app and, because I'm kind of a noob still, and Coinbase wallet?
Okay. Well, so just like the book that Quida mentioned earlier, I have some outstanding issues with Coinbase for a number of reasons. I've kind of written on this before.
Okay.
They have had a history and track record of not treating their Black employees and their women employees quite like they do the rest of their employees. Has that situation been remedied? I'm not quite sure, but ever since that happened, it's kind of left me feeling a certain way about Coinbase. But from the way I understand it, Coinbase has a number of different, and this is going to sound like a commercial, but I'm just doing this for informational purposes. They have a number of different offerings, Coinbase Pro, and you're talking about Coinbase Wallet. So Coinbase itself is what's called a centralized exchange. So all of the buys and sells are taking place on a centralized platform in Coinbase's centralized wallets, right? So they have the servers that operate the wallets of their various customers, and they're able to establish various trades. Now, Coinbase Pro has more analytics and has greater access to different assets. So you can basically do more things in terms of funding your portfolio. And once again, you have different digital assets that you have access to. Coinbase Wallet is the Web 3.0 wallet, essentially akin to MetaMask. Are you familiar with MetaMask?
I don't use it. I'm aware of it. So not really, but I'm aware of it.
Yeah, it's essentially there, and this is the way I understand it. I don't use that because it's a Coinbase product once again. And it's essentially that. It's a Web 3.0 wallet, so you can interact with smart contracts, NFTs, and other great things in the decentralized finance realm, right? So you can use that wallet to get into decentralized exchanges like Uniswap, so on and so forth. There's so many of them out there that I could keep going. But once again, I'm the other thing about Coinbase that maybe you know, maybe you don't know, but last year during that push with Black Lives Matter, Coinbase's CEO was pressed, as a lot of CEOs were at the time, to give a response to the Black Lives Matter movement. And his response to it was essentially like, oh, well, we're not going to make any political statements, right? Which is pretty much an all lives matter standpoint, So
that's good.
I don't know. That just like I said, it made me feel a certain way about the company. And, don't get me wrong. if people are beginners and you're a beginner and you're really trying to understand how crypto works and you want to onboard and, off ramp onto crypto, Coinbase is probably has the easiest user experience and a great UI to do all those things. But like I said, their politics are not necessarily something I subscribe to.
No, that's good information. I'll give you an example. I love New Balance shoes.
Mm-hmm.
They have started coming out with some really fresh looks, and they're like, wow, you're stepping your game up. It's no longer like the Reeboks Classics always remind me of the New Balance. It's always just a classic look, and now they're coming.
You are from Baltimore, aren't you? With the New Balance.
Man. But here's the funny thing. They're getting some fresh kicks out there, and the styles are coming out, and it's like, man, I really would like to get a new pair of New Balance, except I read an article that informed me that they donated in the first campaign for Donald Trump, they gave him $400,000 towards his campaign. So I'm like, dang, I really wanted to buy some New Balance. You ruined it for me. So that's my example to say I understand where you're coming from with
it. Matters where our dollars go because it shows who we support. Listen.
So yeah, I wish I didn't know that, but I do.
Yeah, and thank you for sharing, Chap, because I used to like New Balance too. Okay, so once upon a time, but it only take one, and I don't care if it's a rumor. Like, clear it up. If it gets back to you, I expect you to clean it up. You know what I mean? Like this whole, I was canceling folks before cancel culture was a thing, and I don't care that people don't like that as a buzzword. I don't care, but I know that my black dollars aren't going to somebody that I think is talking about me behind closed doors. Like, that doesn't make sense. Thank you for sharing.
Well, yeah, I definitely feel that, everybody is, they should have some degree of redemption, but it needs to be through their acts, right? So, just like you can be canceled from your acts, you can be redeemed through your acts too. But you need to show that it's not performative, that it's actually sincere, and hey, people make mistakes every day in life, right?
Right. Like, let's not get it wrong. People are allowed to make mistakes, and people are allowed to change. It's just, are they?
I agree.
Like you said, like, it has to be sincere. You know what I mean? But I do appreciate you having us on to talk about everything, including all the coins, right?
Yeah. I was actually just a real quick story, something that I saw is really, depends on, I'm not an NFT person. I like the NFT culture and what's going on around it, but there was a story that came out today that the producer Timberland is creating a production company for the Bored Ape Yacht Club line of NFTs, which this is just telling you, when people think that this is a fad, if Timberland is making a production company just for a line of NFTs, that's telling you something.
So before we go there, Tory Lanez and what he did with his NFT. So I don't know I'm probably saying the wrong words, so you correct me, please, Mr. Hubbard. But from what I understand, he had an LP, he charged $1 for it, put it in an NFT, and now people can resell the 1 million, because it was a limited number of copies, the 1 million copies for whatever they want. But he sold out in a matter of minutes. Like, in 10 minutes, he made $1 million off of those NFTs because everybody bought it instantly. And so now it's like, what's stopping other, artists from doing something like that? Because there was no exchange, there was no middleman. It was, here's the music, here's what it's attached to, and now you own it.
Hey, look, I'm gonna tell you guys a story real quick too, because I know we're running short on time. This is not a new thing. There's a guy who I just heard this story. Pastor Luke was telling me this story. There's a guy who a little while ago found an original Norman Rockwell. And so the kids might not know who that is, but I feel like we should know who that is at our age. Found an original Norman Rockwell sketch, certified. And what this guy did was he took he made 100 prints of it. And then he destroyed the evidence of the original. So there's 101 copies of this Norman Rockwell original for sale for something like $10,000, $20,000. And he sold out instantly. People bought them just to be a part of that narrative that maybe this is the original, right? So I just feel like hearing you talk about that is just like it's not a new thing. Like people are just
creating a market out of nothing.
Yeah.
Like, oh, it's beautiful.
Yeah.
Well, this is once again, it's revolutionizing art and, the artist, right? I mean, so
most importantly.
Yes.
But I think, we'll kind of wrap things up here. I'm glad once again that you guys took time out of your weekend to join me. And, you guys at home need to check out Shared Space and what you guys got going on there. Thanks again for all your work in the Baltimore area. It's greatly appreciated all the way out here from the West Coast. So I'll let you guys take us out with any last words or anything you want to plug on the way out here.
All right. So Chappie is giving me the floor. So yes, we thank you so much for having us on, Kamal. And if people want to tune back in, we will be back on Monday at 7 p.m. on the BlackUSA.News Facebook page. As always, Shared Space. Thank you so much for sharing your platform. We need to get you back on our show as well. And as far as I know, there's a show every evening at 7 p.m. So you guys need to stay tuned in, stay locked in, and we will see you all back bright and early. I think the next show is on Saturday or Sunday. We'll post. See you guys later.